The police cruiser pulled up fast, lights flashing red and blue across the quiet suburban street. And Karen smiled because she believed she had already won. She stood with arms crossed on her manicured lawn, staring straight at the small black Smart, doorbell mounted, beside her neighbor's front door. That doorbell had been watching her, she claimed, recording her, violating her privacy. Tonight, she was sure it would be ripped off the wall as evidence. What Karen didn't know was that the doorbell had been recording, far more than she realized, and it never forgot a single second. Earlier that evening, the neighborhood had been silent except for cicadas and distant traffic. The homeowner, Alex, wasn't even home. He was out of town on business, hundreds of miles away. His house sat dark, empty, and quiet, except for the smart doorbell blinking softly, doing what it was designed to do. Monitor motion, record activity, protect the property. Karen had walked by twice, slowly, deliberately. The first time, she stopped and waved her hand in front of the camera. The second time, she leaned in close, glaring at the lens like it was a living thing. Then she pulled out her phone and dialed 911. Her voice was calm, confident, rehearsed. She told the dispatcher the device was spying on her, illegally filming her movements, invading her personal space. She emphasized fear. She emphasized harassment. She emphasized danger. By the time officers arrived, Karen had built a full story in her head. She would explain everything. The police would agree. The neighbor would be warned. The doorbell would come down. She had done this before with noise complaints, parking disputes, trash cans placed incorrectly. Authority usually sided with her. Officer Martinez approached first, asking simple questions. Karen answered eagerly, pointing at the doorbell like it was a weapon. She demanded action. She demanded consequences. What she didn't notice was Officer Lewis quietly checking a tablet, syncing with a notification that had just arrived. Because while Karen was telling her story, the doorbell had already sent its own. Officer Lewis looked up from the tablet slowly, his expression unreadable, and asked Karen a question she wasn't expecting. "Ma'am, are you sure you want to proceed with this complaint?" Karen scoffed, mistaking caution for hesitation. She insisted, louder now, repeating claims of stalking and surveillance. She said she felt unsafe. She said she had proof. The officers exchanged a glance that Karen didn't understand. What Karen didn't realize was that smart doorbells don't just record video. They log timestamps, motion paths, audio triggers, and user interactions. Officer Lewis had access to a shared clip Alex had authorized remotely minutes earlier. The footage didn't show spying. It showed Karen approaching the property line repeatedly. It showed her peering into windows. It showed her speaking directly into the camera, threatening to have this thing removed. When Officer Martinez asked Karen where she had been standing when she was allegedly recorded, she gestured broadly, exaggerating distance. The footage contradicted her immediately. Every step was mapped, every pause time-stamped. Even the moment she called the police was logged. Her voice captured clearly as she stood inches from the doorbell. Karen's tone shifted. She grew defensive. She accused the technology of being manipulated. She suggested her neighbor was framing her. That was when Officer Lewis explained calmly that altering these records would require access credentials Alex didn't even possess. The data was cloud-backed, encrypted, and time-verified. In simpler terms, it couldn't lie. The officers knocked on Alex's door out of procedure. No answer. Karen smirked, convinced this absence helped her case. Instead, Officer Martinez received a call. Alex was on speaker, polite and confused, apologizing for being unavailable and authorizing full review of footage. He mentioned prior incidents, complaints, false reports. Karen's confidence cracked when Officer Lewis replayed the audio aloud. Her own voice filled the street, sharp and unmistakable. Neighbors peeked through curtains. A couple stepped outside. Whispers started. Karen demanded they stop playing it. She demanded privacy now, ironically, from the very thing she had accused of violating hers. The officers explained that filing a false police report was serious. Harassment was serious, and recorded evidence was admissible. Karen's breathing quickened. Her narrative collapsed in real time, frame by frame, second by second, and the doorbell was still recording. Karen's voice dropped to a whisper as she tried to backpedal, claiming it was all a misunderstanding. She said she didn't know the doorbell recorded audio. She said she was emotional. She said she felt targeted. But the timeline didn't support her story. The system logs showed repeated interactions over weeks. This wasn't a moment. It was a pattern. Officer Martinez asked Karen to step aside while they discussed next steps. Neighbors had gathered now, drawn by the flashing lights and raised voices. Someone recognized Karen instantly. Someone else quietly mentioned previous arguments, complaints, and threats. The officers listened. The doorbell footage filled in the gaps. Alex remained on the phone, calm but firm. He explained he installed the doorbell after Packages went missing and his car was scratched. He never expected it to become a witness. Yet here it was, presenting neutral facts without emotion, without bias. Just truth. Karen interrupted repeatedly, accusing everyone of ganging up on her. When Officer Lewis informed her she would be cited for filing a false report, her anger exploded. She shouted about rights, about technology overreach, about unfair treatment. The shouting was captured too. Every word automatically archived. The officers explained consequences clearly. Citation tonight. Possible charges if behavior continued. A warning to stay off Alex's property. Karen laughed nervously, insisting she'd fight it. She said no machine could testify against her. Officer Lewis responded quietly, "It already did." As the cruiser lights powered down, Karen realized something deeper had shifted. This wasn't about one neighbor anymore. It was about accountability. Cameras didn't escalate situations. People did. Technology didn't target her. Her actions summoned it. Alex ended the call thanking the officers. He would return tomorrow. The footage would be saved. The incident logged. Karen stood alone on her lawn. No audience left. No authority backing her story. Just silence, and the faint blink of a doorbell LED across the street. That night, neighborhood group chats lit up. The story spread fast. Not with rumors, but with facts. Clips, timestamps, receipts. Karen's reputation didn't shatter loudly. It eroded quietly, one verified detail at a time. And somewhere in the cloud, the doorbell waited, ready for the next time truth needed a voice. By morning, the street felt different. Karen noticed it immediately. Fewer smiles, fewer waves. Conversation stopped when she stepped outside. The incident had settled into the neighborhood like fog, thin but unavoidable. People didn't need explanations anymore. The evidence had spoken for itself. Alex returned home that afternoon. He didn't celebrate. He didn't confront Karen. He simply reinstalled his doorbell after checking it, ensuring everything worked as intended. Protection, not revenge, was the goal. The system logged his return automatically, another quiet entry in its timeline. Karen tried once more to regain control. She posted online, claiming harassment, claiming victimhood, but comments filled with skepticism. Some neighbors referenced public records. Others mentioned the footage. Truth had momentum now, and it didn't slow down for spin. Weeks passed. No more complaints from Karen. No more calls. She avoided the sidewalk near Alex's house entirely. The doorbell continued its job unbothered, impartial. It recorded delivery drivers, friendly hellos, passing cats and falling leaves. Normal life resumed. The lesson lingered, though. In a world filled with smart devices, actions leave trails. Lies unravel faster. Authority doesn't come from shouting loudest, but from evidence standing firm. Karen believed power came from calling the police. She learned it actually came from telling the truth. Neighbors began installing their own cameras, not out of fear, but clarity. Accountability changed behavior more effectively than confrontation ever could. The street grew quieter, calmer, more respectful. And the doorbell? It never judged. It never accused. It only remembered. If this story shocked you, make sure to hit like, subscribe to the channel for more real-life Karen stories, and comment below. Do you think the doorbell was right, or did Karen go too far? I want to read your thoughts.